Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Invisible Innocence. I am your host, Megan Moret. Thanks so much for coming back and joining me for another episode. I think you're really going to like this one today. We are going to be talking about a case that has everyone buzzing, everyone talking, people, saying that it could just be a distraction because of this crazy political season that we're having. But it has been quite a scandal since this summer and leaving many of us with hundreds of questions. Today, we're going to talk about Sean Combs, otherwise known as P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Puffy, Love Daddy. He's got several names. But Sean Combs has been arrested and charged in a 3-count indictment with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. And this has left many of us wondering, what exactly is he being accused of? How is he trafficking people? Is he holding them prisoner, importing women and girls, running some type of brothel? What could this man that seems to have it all be doing to be accused of these horrific crimes? As a reminder, I want to let all of the listeners remember that this could be some sensitive material, so discretion is advised. P. Diddy, the singer-songwriter that acquired fame back in the 90s, is well known for songs that hit the top of the billboards. Songs like I'll Be Missing You, a tribute to his friend and fellow rap artist Notorious B.I.G. that was murdered. I Need a Girl, Can't Nobody Hold Me Down. These are just to name a few of his big hits. P. Diddy is arguably one of the best rappers and hip-hop producers of his generation. Throughout his career, Diddy has made a habit out of collaborating with other popular artists, which often landed him at the top of the charts. And he even produced successful shows on his own, like MTV's Making the Band. He was a true talent, and he's great at what he does. There's no doubt about that. All of this success and talent, and now he's in the slammer. He's not even allowed bail. Why? Well, the list goes on with over 100 accusers and hundreds of sex misconduct allegations. In March 2024, the Department of Homeland Security raided Diddy's multi-million-dollar mansions in both Los Angeles and Miami. The raids came as the mogul has a mounting list of civil lawsuits for abuse and sexual misconduct that has multiple victims spanning over a period of 30 years. So these are not new or recent allegations. Some of them are dating back several years and are just now coming to light. On September 16th, 2024, Combs was arrested, and his grand jury indictment was unsealed the very next day. He has denied all accusations and has been denied bail twice. Even as of October 8th, he filed a third appeal asking to be released on bail as he awaits trial. His lawyers adding that he is not a flight risk of any kind. So it is very rare to be denied bail, and to be denied bail on several occasions really shows you just how big of a case this is and how serious these allegations are. Prosecutors say that Combs is accused of using his music empire to engage in sex trafficking and has a pattern of abusing women. Many of us have watched in terror the 2016 surveillance tape that shows Diddy grabbing, shoving, kicking, and hitting his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in a hotel hallway in California, right outside of where the elevators were. The indictment states that Combs often lured victims. Okay, now this is where I need you all to listen very carefully. This explains some of the trafficking legal jargon, which makes this case a sex trafficking case. Diddy promised a romantic relationship before using threats, intimidation, and abuse to get them to engage in extended sex acts with male workers on film. So remember, force, fraud, and coercion must take place to consider it trafficking. And this is where the questions come in. What is he doing to be sex trafficking? So force, fraud, coercion. He's lying. He's telling women that he wants to be a romantic partner with them. He wants to engage in a romantic relationship. And then as soon as he gets them where he wants them, that's when things start to change, and not for the better. Prosecutors allege that Combs drugged victims during these sessions and kept the footage without the victims' knowledge. It stated that the physical exertion was such that Combs and his victims would need IV fluids afterwards. So these escapades would go on for hours and hours at a time, to the point of pure exhaustion, and I'm guessing dehydration, to where they would have to have IV fluids. Diddy's legal team says that Sean Combs is a music icon, self-made entrepreneur, loving family man, a proven philanthropist who has spent 30 years building an empire, adoring his children, and working to uplift the Black community. They say he's an imperfect person, but not a criminal. And, he is self-made. He has given money to the underserved. He's given money to the victims of Hurricane Katrina, for instance. He has given money to inner city schools. And I'm sure there are several other things that he has given money to, maybe even time. But two things can be true at the same time. So the big question is, what did they find in his Los Angeles and Miami mansion during these raids? Several firearms and phones belonging to Diddy were seized, and I'm not sure what they were expecting, but there was a very, very heavy presence of officers wearing protective gear, the full task gear with weapons, command trucks. They were outside of both homes during both raids. And I can remember watching on the news and saying, wow, like this is no joke. I'm not sure what is going on, but they mean business. Two of Diddy's sons were present at the raids, and they were handcuffed due to protocol. So just to remind you, when DHS went in to do these raids, they had no idea what they were going to find, but it was of a criminal nature. So they were prepared. There is a protocol. There is a process. And of course, one of the mothers to one of Diddy's sons, she did not like the fact that the boys were handcuffed and, probably yelled at, probably ordered to do what the officers wanted them to do. And she threw her arms up, very upset, and said that the only reason that the boys were treated this way is because that they were Black men, and that is the only reason why excessive force was used. On the same day as the raids, Diddy's drug mule by the name of Brendan Paul, he was arrested on felony charges of possession of suspected cocaine and possession of suspected marijuana candy. The affidavit includes that at the time of the arrest, cocaine and edibles were found in Paul's travel bag. So Paul, the day of the raids, was traveling with Diddy. They were down at the airport in Miami when all of this was happening. I think, again, a lot of us watched as reporters were outside of the airport in Miami, where we saw Diddy just kind of pacing. He was on his phone. And that's when he got on his plane, and people were trying to track the plane to find out exactly where he was going. But that was the day that his drug mule, who at one time was a successful athlete, he was a great college student. Not sure how he got wrapped up into all of this, but he was arrested on that same day in Miami. Let's talk a little bit about Cassie Ventura. the former girlfriend of Diddy. And this is the woman that many of us saw in the surveillance footage at the hotel in California, the woman that was abused by Diddy. Cassie had been in a decade-long relationship with Diddy in the early 2000s, and she filed a lawsuit in New York federal court alleging sex trafficking, sexual battery, sexual assault, and gender-motivated violence, among other causes of action. Cassie alleged that she was lured and eventually trapped in a pattern of abuse involving forced drug use, rape, battery, and forced sex acts with male sex workers. Diddy settled this with her one day later. So he was very quick to say, okay, you're going to accuse me of this. How much do I need to pay you? So they were able to settle this. But what this did was this spawned several more victims to come forward. And sometimes it just takes one brave victim to come forward to give others the same courage to do so. And that is exactly what happened. So although it was settled, it was quick, it was in and out, it was just what many other victims needed to get their voices heard. So in February, music producer Rodney Jones, he filed a lawsuit alleging that Diddy coerced him to solicit prostitutes and then was pressured to have sex with them. When I read these allegations, I'm not so sure how much of it is strictly for maybe attention, or if maybe truly these people really did indeed, even the men, even the males, felt forced to engage in sexual acts with women or men that they did not want. So I just want to make clear that there are men in these lawsuits as well that are accusing Diddy of the exact same things that the women were accusing him of. And we don't typically hear that. So we just have to kind of get in that frame of mind and that thought process that it does happen on both sides. In other lawsuits, a woman said that when she was just 17, Combs raped her and trafficked her. Another woman who was a college student at the time, she said that she was sexually assaulted by Diddy, and he used the video recording of this as what they call, quote, revenge porn against her. And this is, when this happens when someone will take these sexually explicit, whether it's images or videos, and without someone knowing that they even took them or videoed them, and they will distribute them without the person's consent, and kind of use it for blackmail and what they call here revenge porn. A lot of words here that many of us may never have heard. And so we're just kind of all learning that in this sick world of trafficking, anything goes. Dawn Richards, a member of his former band, Danity Kane, she sued him for sexual assault and inhumane working conditions. In this suit, Richards said that Diddy withheld her earnings and subjected her to years of inhumane working conditions, which right alongside of these allegations, she says allegedly that he groped her, he assaulted her, there was false imprisonment, as well as other violations. So this particular case is not only sex trafficking, but labor trafficking as well. He withheld earnings, so promised her that she was going to make X amount of dollars and then withheld it, keeping her, forcing her to stay in one place, imprisonment. So there's both cases in this particular woman's case. Sex trafficking and what we call labor trafficking. Combs' lawyers have asked that several different claims be dropped, just drop them, due to the fact that some of the laws did not exist on the dates in which the allegations took place. So they basically are saying that you cannot come forward and make him guilty of this crime when it happened, whether it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, if the law wasn't in place then. So it sounds really silly, but that is a case that they're trying to come against. So basically, they're saying, look, these are new laws. You cannot charge him for this because this did not exist 30 years ago. So 30 years ago, when he's being accused of raping this woman or trafficking this woman, it's too late. So that's something to swallow as well. A Michigan inmate that is serving time for criminal sexual conduct himself, as well as kidnapping, he filed charges against Diddy, accusing him of drugging him and sexually assaulting him at a party in 1997. So this is going back all the way to 1997. Attorney Ariel Mitchell Kidd, who has been hired by another victim, claims that her client was drugged, assaulted by Diddy, and then raped by another man while Diddy pleasured himself and watched. She was able to escape, ran into the street, and there were neighbors that witnessed her running into the street. So she left, she got out, and Mitchell Kidd, her attorney, says that she has also been contacted by someone that has another instance, possession of a Diddy tape. So these are now called the Diddy tapes. And she is shopping it out. So in other words, you're trying to reach the person in the video, and you're basically saying, hey, I have this video. I'll sell it to you first for X amount of dollars before I release it to the public for exorbitant amounts of money, or you can purchase it. So it basically, to me, it sounds like legal blackmail, if there is such a thing, but legal blackmail. So I'm going to offer it to you. You're going to pay me tons and tons of money, or I'm going to sell it to someone else or let it just go public. Mitchell Kidd said that this person in the video is more high profile than Diddy himself, and that there are several videos out there that people are shopping out just like this one. So the Diddy tapes, there's several of them. People have been videoed, maybe knowing, maybe not knowing, but irregardless, they do not want them to get out, and people are shopping these out. So another term that, maybe you haven't heard before, but now you know what that means. And the one thing that I do want to point out is that there are many people that video their sexual escapades with their sexual partner, if you will, and that is not illegal. But when someone isn't aware of this or doesn't give consent, or it is used to blackmail someone, that is when it becomes illegal. So whatever you want to do in the bedroom with videotapes or cameras, as long as both people are aware and consenting adults, it's fine. It's when people are not aware, are not consensual, that it is illegal. So just want to make that clear. So, everybody does what they want to do, and that's their business behind closed doors. Another guy by the name of Roger Bands, he worked as Diddy's head of security from 2003 to 2012, has said that his ex-boss flew women across state lines for parties and invited men that he had never seen before, invited them into the hotel rooms. So one of the key words here is across state lines. So there can be a crime within a state, but as soon as things start crossing into other states, so crossing state lines, that's when it can become a federal case. That's when the FBI can become involved. So that's just one of the key words in that particular case. In a documentary on the allegations surrounding Diddy released by TMZ, former Danity Kane singer Aubrey O'Day, she said that Diddy's mistreatment of her was enough to have changed the course and direction of her entire life. And that, to me, that statement is so, so sad that one person can be responsible for literally ruining someone else's life like this. He had the power and the means to do quite the opposite, to create and allow for so many people to flourish and to be successful in life. And yet the trajectory of her life, because of Sean Combs, went in a direction that she never expected. And many of you may remember Suge Knight. If you are around my age, you probably do. But I also have to remember that I am not 25 anymore. And so not everybody knows everybody that I remember. He was the co-founder of Death Row Records. He was in the rival production company against Sean Combs' company. Suge Knight is now serving a 28-year sentence for voluntary manslaughter for a 2015 hit and run. And Suge Knight says he feels bad. He feels bad that this is happening for Diddy's family and that this is a really sad day for the hip hop community. Another thing that he said about this whole case is that that he said, quote, makes us all look bad, end quote. I'm like, why are you worried about this making you look bad when you are in prison for, 28 years for killing someone? I don't really think that it would take Diddy to make Suge Knight look bad, but I get the sentiment, basically just saying that when it comes to sex trafficking, it doesn't get much worse. And for something like this to happen to such a big name in the hip hop community is really hard for everyone. And he's hoping that it doesn't tarnish the hip hop community culture as a whole. Another thing that I find very interesting is that Suge Knight is a podcast host. Yes. So dude has a podcast straight from his cell behind bars. And I'm like, how is this possible? His podcast is called Collect Call with Suge Knight. And this features raw and unfiltered conversations between him and some of hip hop's most legendary and influential figures. He holds nothing back when talking about his rivals, one being Sean Combs, and people in this industry. And I'm bringing up a lot of these different people because they have been so closely related to Sean Combs over the last 30 years. And they all have very profound relationships with him. And they all have a lot to say about what is going on right now. And I'm trying to just paint a picture of whether it's his accusers or people that he's had relationships with, because it's important to know that everybody has their own story, their own accusations. And although they may sound very different, it all comes down to one thing, and that is the trafficking allegations against Sean P. Diddy Combs. In one of Suge Knight's podcasts, he shares his theory on why Jennifer Lopez filed for divorce from Ben Affleck in August of 2022. And this was only after 2 years of marriage. And you have to remember that they were together late 90s, early 2000s. They both went their separate ways, had children, both had spouses, J-Lo several spouses. And then there was that long time in between. And then they finally get back together. And then, whoops, just after 2 years of marriage, Ben Affleck files for divorce. And so Suge Knight, he claims that some of the videotapes that were seized from Diddy's mansions contain J-Lo doing this or that, whatever it was on these videos, who knows? And the FBI went to Ben Affleck and showed him these videos for reasons unknown, not sure why. It could have been legal reasons. It could have been, that they just thought that he should know. I'm not really sure how that worked, but it is no coincidence that shortly after he saw these videos, that's when the marriage fell apart. Suge also insinuates that J-Lo, is no angel. especially in regards to the 1999 nightclub shooting that sent an innocent man to jail. The gun that was found at the scene of the crime supposedly was Diddy's, but of course he and both J. Lo lied and said that it belonged to another guy. So J. Lo and Diddy, they were in a relationship from 1999 to around 2001. So short, but very interesting and fast paced, and just a lot of a crazy filled few years for that relationship. On October 21st, 2024, so very recently, 7 more lawsuits were filed against Diddy, including one alleging the rape of a 13-year-old girl. This case makes me sick. This case alleges that a 13-year-old girl who was invited to a party by a limousine driver after the Video Music Awards in Manhattan in September 2000, that this 13-year-old girl was raped by a male celebrity and then by Diddy as 2 individuals watched. These 2 individuals, one being a male celebrity and one being a female celebrity. So these allegations give us even a little bit more hints and clues to how these Diddy tapes could be absolutely horrific for people if they are exposed, which I hope one day they are. And we can see exactly who is involved in these just disgusting crimes. I know that many of you now are thinking, like, what in the world was a 13-year-old girl doing at this award show? Where were her parents? Who was she with? Was she a guest of someone? Why was this 13-year-old girl able to even be invited to go to a party like this? And who knows what the circumstances were, but nevertheless, she was a victim and she never should have been taken there. This 13-year-old girl, the limousine driver should have known better. Everyone involved in that should have known better. So regardless, she was the victim and she was only 13 years old. Okay, and I have to talk about this. So I am definitely not a conspiracy theorist at all. But the death of Diddy's former girlfriend and mother to 4 children, Kim Porter, now after reading all of these allegations, is really making me super, super suspicious. It's making me wonder if there was, more to her death than just pneumonia. She was a healthy 47-year-old woman who had just been experiencing some flu symptoms. And then she was found at her home, deceased just a few days later. So in 2018 is when she was found dead of something that usually takes your life if you've been really, really ill. It's, bad flu or some type of bacterial infection. And it just seems odd to me. So, now I'm like, oh gosh, what else could have happened? What else could he have been involved with? So that's just my own personal suspicion, but it sure makes you wonder. And not to go down a completely different rabbit hole, but to no one's surprise, Diddy has been linked to the murder of Tupac Shakur. Again, I always feel like everybody knows who Tupac is, but I am getting, old, and many of you may not know, but Tupac Shakur, one of the best and greatest rap artists and hip hop icons of our time. Against popular belief, he is not alive. That's another conspiracy theory that people love to talk about, is that Tupac is still alive and, he's hiding out in Fiji and he's not. But his family wants a new investigation into his death. And this comes after Keffe D. Davis was arrested last year for his murder. And Davis has said for 15 years that Diddy was part of the planning and that he offered $1 million for Tupac's murder. So, it just, again, here's just another piece of the puzzle. What else was he involved with? So many people suspected him of being behind Tupac's murder. And now, after all these years, I think when some things are becoming more clear, his family wants to reopen the investigation. So for all you Tupac fans, help is on the way. But my question is, like, how did this guy, Sean Combs, how did he get so messed up? Was it power, greed, narcissism, money, all of it? And because we tend to see many abusers come from broken homes where different types of abuse take place. Abusers abuse is a common theory. And although Sean Combs is said to have grown up in poverty, there are no clear implications that he suffered from an abusive childhood. There are many people that are born into poverty and live in poverty for most, if not all of their life, and they don't abuse. So that's another question. He was born in Harlem, New York, and raised in Mount Vernon, New York. And he was born to his mother, Janice Combs, and she was a beautiful model and a teacher's assistant, and to his father, Melvin Earl Combs. And he served in the U.S. Air Force. But his father, Melvin, was an associate of a convicted drug dealer by the name of Frank Lucas. And unfortunately, Diddy's dad, Melvin, was shot dead while sitting in his car in Central Park when Diddy was just 2 years old. So he and his sister, just one sister, they were raised Catholic. They went to Catholic school. Sean Combs went to Catholic Academy and was an amazing athlete. He was a good student. He played football and even won a division title in 1986 at his academy. He then went on to college. He went to Howard University as a business major, but left after his second year. He had other things on his mind, wanted to become that entrepreneur, wanted to start something for himself. And so soon after that, he would begin his own producing company by the name of Bad Boy Records. And this is where his notoriety would soon just take off and soar. I'm sure that there's more to his childhood, more to the story. There always is. And we have no idea what people truly, truly experience behind closed doors. But stereotypically, this isn't someone that we would expect to commit such horrific crimes and abuse. And as far as the federal indictments are concerned, he is innocent until proven guilty. For now, Sean Combs will stay in jail until his trial, even after he offered a new judge a $50 million bail package that includes GPS monitoring and strict limits on visitors. And one of the reasons that this is denied is because the judge said that there is no certain way to prevent Combs from threatening or harming witnesses. So if he pays this money, even at $50 million, he has a GPS monitoring, and the people that he's coming into contact with, that is strictly limited as well. There's no guarantee that he will not be able to conduct some sort of harassment against witnesses. And this judge was not willing to do that, which I don't blame him. I don't think that he should, on this many allegations and this serious of crimes, I don't think that he should be out on bail either, even if it is $50 million. And I think that this is just the tip of the iceberg with this case. Every single day, there are more victims and allegations coming forward. I think that this case is going to take a very long time to sift through and definitely to close. And I believe that there will be more high-profile people that are going to become involved, whether they are victims or the abusers themselves. I think that it's going to be one of those things, kind of like the Epstein files, where we're all going to be, waiting and wanting to hear who else has been involved and who participated in these crimes. There's so many pieces to this puzzle, and I'm sure everyone else will be watching closely as they continue to put it together. I hope that all the victims that have been affected continue to come forward and to tell their stories and their hopes to find justice. We have to remember how brave and bold these people have to be to come forward, because you are coming face to face with people that have a lot of power and a lot of money. And when you have those two things together, it's a dangerous cocktail for people to harass you, to bully you, to blackmail you. And so kudos to those victims that are coming forward. And that brings me to remind the listeners, if you or anyone even if you suspect, just have just a little hint of suspicion that someone is being exploited in this way or any way, please call 911. You can call the human trafficking hotline at 1-888-373-7888. Or you can contact the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-4673. Thanks so much for listening today, and we will see you next time. Stay smart.